Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I'm your host, Joanne Crone, joined here by the lovely Brie Tucker.
Hello, but how are you? I'm dancing in my head to
I don't know that song. What song? What song
I
is
can't
that?
remember what it is either. I think it's Land of a Thousand Dances, maybe?
I have never even heard that title.
Da 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 da.
Have you ever heard this title that Brie is singing?
Da da da
I
da
have never
da.
heard it. Oh, okay, I recognize that. That's like the Rocky theme.
No.
Okay,
This
I'm really
is
bad at this.
you guys, this is what Joanne has to put up with every day. Me just randomly humming things and being like, oh, hold on, I can't quite dig through that perimenopause brain fog. I know it's in there somewhere.
It's
The
in there.
randomest crap that comes out of my mouth sometimes. I don't know.
It's like ABC, easy as 1, 2, kitty. It's ADHD, but yes.
It is.
It's,
It is. I always say like I'm very blessed to have people in my life that are willing to learn Bree speak. And yeah.
It works out. Well, today we are talking, Brie, about one thing that you can let go of and let go of control of. Because what if the secret to less stress as a parent isn't more control over what your kids do, but actually letting go? So this comes from a book that we did a book club on in our Balance membership. It's called The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, and it
Fantastic.
impacted everyone so much. Like our members were saying, I mean, shout out to Jamie. She said that this was the first book in years that actually helped her. Like helped her like see things in a new way, helped her like do things differently. So today we are taking Mel Robbins' Let Them theory and we're translating it to the parenting chaos that we all see, because there is a way that we can make our parenting lives easier by just letting them. Make sure to stay until the end of the episode too, because we have a 5-day challenge for you that you could take to really use this let them theory in your parenting life. And you're going to find out how to get it at the end. So now let's get on with the show. Okay. So Brie, I have to tell you, like when I heard of this book from Mel Robbins, The Let Them Theory, I saw it actually, Oprah was talking about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Oprah's talking about Mel Robbins. That's cool.
Never see Oprah anymore. I
Yeah.
miss her. I miss her. She's not coming up on my stuff. I need to like check that out more then.
Well, she came up on mine. Maybe I was actually looking at Mel Robbins' Instagram feed and I saw Oprah. But this Let Them theory, I got the book and I started reading it and I'm like, my gosh, like this is a genius way to think about things, because I am a people pleaser. You're a people pleaser. We like to make people happy, as we actually discussed in another episode, how you said like your dream is not to have anyone argue with you and just be happy with everything you pick. Yeah. Yeah. So this theory kind of goes along with it. And what the let them theory is, and I highly recommend you go get Mel Robbins' book for this, because she goes into all the intricacies and nuances of it.
Speaking of which, Mel, if you're listening, please come on the podcast. We'd love to have
Please
you
come on
here
the
to
podcast. We
discuss
want to
it.
talk about this.
Yes.
So let them is really, you're thinking about situations where you want things to go a certain way, or you want somebody to react in a certain way, and you don't exactly have control over that. So I'll give you an example. My sister was texting me, and her daughter's birthday, her first birthday, is coming up. And the birthday's on May 3rd. And she's like, "Are you available May 3rd?" Bree immediately knows where I'm going. I'm like, are you available May 3rd to come to her first birthday party? And I was like, no, I'm not available May 3rd because I'll be at the No Guilt Mom retreat in Cancun.
Yeah.
And she gave me like a sad face. And before I read the let them theory, I would have like done so much back explaining and so many things that would probably like make the situation worse. For instance, my first inclination, Brie, was to be like, oh, but it's okay. I'll come down another time, or I'll do this, or I'll do that. I would have immediately tried to fix the situation. But because of this sad response, I immediately thought of, okay, let let her have her feelings. She is totally good with these feelings that she's having. I'm going to let her have them. And then the second part of let them is let me. Then I decide how I react and I show up in the situation. And what I did is like, I know I am so, so sorry. We scheduled this before she was born. I promise in like, we will not miss another one of her birthdays ever. Like, I will be available. I will not schedule another retreat on it. And she hasn't gotten back to me yet. That was yesterday. But again, let them have her
Them
feeling.
have her feelings.
It
She
is
might not
all
even feel
good.
like there's a response needed to that even.
That's true.
She might be
That's
like,
true.
okay, I hear ya.
Yeah.
And it doesn't want to put more sadness on you about it. Like, you never know, like, why people don't. I'm the queen of making up stories in my head about why people don't answer me. Oh man, the stories I can come up with, they go off the rails very quickly, very quickly.
Yeah. But let's apply this to parenting, because we know we want our kids to be happy. I mean, one of the Hallmark cards that pisses me off to no end is saying like, you could tell a great mom by her happy kids. And I'm like, false. That is false right there. That is lying, because you know that kids aren't happy with a lot of decisions that we have to make as parents, decisions we make for the good of ourselves, the decisions we make for the good of the kids. And so when we think about this in terms of let them theory, there are so many ways that this applies to kid scenarios. For instance, when your kid is asking you for a snack or to go somewhere with them, yes, you have the time to go get the snack with them. Yes, you have the money to get the snack with them. Do you want to get the snack with them? No, you don't want to get the snack with them. And so this is allowing you to be like, you know what? I don't want to get this. I'm going to stay right here. And then you let them have their feelings.
Okay, Joanne, were you in my house last week? Because this exact scenario of, Mom, I want to go get a drink from Swig, but I don't want to drive by myself. And I'm like, you mean the one that's like a quarter mile from our house? Yeah. Can you just come with me? No, but you're not doing anything. I'm recovering from a back injury. And so then she sat there and whined and was very upset about it. But I was just like holding my ground. So yeah, you were in my house. How did you? I didn't even tell you about that happening. I tell you a lot.
Well, I got it from my kids because we were coming back from our trip and my daughter wanted to go get snacks and I was just wanted to sit down. And she's like, why would you come get snacks with me? Don't you want to be with me? You know, I'm going to be moving out soon. Don't you want to do? I mean, kids do all of this stuff when you try to stand firm in your decisions. And I was just like, nope, I'm sitting here. And I let her have her feelings.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I controlled how I showed up in the situation, because here's like the geniusness of all that. I got to the point where I hated apologizing for my own behavior.
Yeah.
You know, where like you get so emotionally wrapped up. You say things that you would definitely not have said if the emotions hadn't been involved, if you hadn't gotten like so invested in trying to get the other person to understand where you're coming from and either forgiving you or saying it's okay, that you act in a way that you didn't mean to act. And I was doing that and I didn't like it. I don't like apologizing for behavior that I think I should have some control over. Now, no one's perfect.
Well, I think also with you, I feel like you're also cognizant of how that plays out to your kids, right?
Yeah.
Like between the two of us, I am the queen of apologies, right? I apologize for breathing sometimes too loud. Like, I don't know, it's a bad habit I'm trying to break. And one day when I do, I'll buy myself a new purse. But that's an inside joke between us. But I think it's really important though for our kids to hear that, because the more that they see and hear us apologizing, the more they internalize, okay, that's how it's supposed to happen. And we're possibly even giving them the idea that, you know, as a woman, we need to apologize for things. And so they might start to expect that from other women. And if they are a woman themselves, like your daughter, they might start thinking, yeah, I'm supposed to apologize whenever I make other people unhappy.
Yes.
And we don't want that. We don't want that because it sucks. Like we just said, it makes you feel like crap.
And you feel like you have no control over your life either, because like your actions are totally based on other people's emotional reactions.
Yep.
And that's like horrible. That's anxiety inducing all on its own. So when we let our kids have their own reactions, we are helping ourselves as parents show up as the parents that we want to be. Now, you might be thinking, isn't it our job kind of to control our kids and make sure like they have the reactions that are appropriate in society? Well, we're going to get into that right after this.
Good question.
Okay. So you might be hearing this let them theory, and one of your yeah buts is, but aren't as parents we're supposed to lead and help our kids learn to control their own behavior or control how they act in certain situations? And to that, we have some little questions you can ask yourself about it. But Brie, you had a scenario happen where the control kind of backfired on you.
I did. And it was a response I wasn't ready for, but at the end I had to do the let them, and then it yeah. Okay, so my son, he has a part-time job. A lot of times he closes at that part-time job. And the part-time job is like, I don't know, a little bit less than a mile from my house. And they close at when he closes, he typically gets home between 10:30 and 11 o'clock at night. And that does sometimes happen on school nights, but he's a senior, he knows his workload. I feel like he can juggle that no problem. So he was working till close. And I normally try to stay up till he gets home just because I like to know all my ducklings are in the pond,
I
whatever you
get
want to
that.
call it, right? Yeah. And it's like 10:45 and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, has he even left work yet?" So I open the Life 360. That little snot-nosed punk was like 2 miles away at a Chick-fil-A. Like, "What? What? What are you doing? What?" And so, like, I text him and I'm like, "Yo, dude, when do you think you're getting out of work?" Trying to pretend like I wasn't spying on him and knew exactly where the heck he was. And he's like,
I do that too.
right? And he's like, "Oh, well, I had to take somebody home, so I'm taking them home and then I'll be there." And I went, "Oh, they live at Chick-fil-A?" No response.
There goes it.
Well, I wanted him to know that I knew. You're not pulling anything over my eyes here, mister.
No.
And so he like doesn't text me back right away. And then he's like, "Well, we're hungry." And I'm like, "You better get home soon," is all I got to say. Like,
Mhm.
you've already left to take this person home, but you better get home soon because you have school the next day. And he's like, "Yeah, I know." And so I did end up going to bed because I was like, forget this. I'm not staying up for this now at this point because if I stay up, I'm just going to be more mad. I'm
Mhm.
just going to allow myself to stew in this because now I'm getting less sleep and I'm worried at him and I'm like, what made you think that was an okay decision to make? Like, really? So I went to bed and he ended up getting up and going to school the next day, no problem. Made it to
Mhm.
school. Actually, no, wait. No, he didn't. That's what I was going to tell you. So the next morning, I get up and I get up like school for them start. They have to be at school by like 7:20. And I get up between 7 and 7:30. I'm a late riser. And then like I mosey out of the bedroom and I look at the hallway and I notice his door is shut. And I'm like, "Okay, he normally leaves his door open when he leaves. I'm just going to go check." Open the door. Nope, there he is in bed still sleeping. And so I like shook him awake and I'm like, "Robert, it's 7:30. Do I need to call you out from school today?" Because to me, I'm thinking like, all right, my son never misses school.
Mhm.
So if he had to miss school one day because he was tired, he's going to be punishing himself because he'll be behind on homework and all of that. And he'll have learned his lesson about staying out till midnight on a school night. He jumps out of bed and is like, "Oh my God, I slept through my alarm. No, I can't miss today. And he like rattles off some stuff and he's running and getting dressed and just dashed out of the house. So it was one of those things where it was like the natural consequence was able to come without me having to impose any, like, you made the wrong choice, trying to control the situation, like yelling at him. I could have like grounded him for going out to midnight on a school night, which he is not allowed to do. But
Mhm.
instead, he felt with his own things.
You let him, and he dealt with his natural consequences.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it was
It's so
crazy. It was hard. It was a hard one to let them. It was a hard one.
It is. It is a hard one. So you might be thinking, like, when is control really necessary when it comes to kids? I mean, obviously, the younger kids are, the more impact you have in their lives. And it becomes kind of a weaning off process as they become teenagers and then eventually moving out. So the way I look at it is control is necessary when it has to do with like safety or health. First of all, you need to go to the doctor and we need to do a well exam so you can get some vaccines. That's a non negotiable on my part. Or, like, the one that I held as a non negotiable is here in Arizona, we have the driving rule where you're not supposed to have more than one person in the car with you the first 6 months you have your license. And that was a rule that my daughter, I mean, I wouldn't have known if she goes like off of it, But I kept firm to like that was my expectation of things. So then if she decided to go against it, like girls on her own. I mean, like I just wanted to make sure I was crystal clear on those because when they get to teenagers, you can't really control them at all. Like it
You
doesn't
think you
work
can.
anymore.
Yeah, I'm
You
just
think
gonna
you
give
can,
that
but
little
not
shout
really.
out to y'all. Like, if you have a friend or somebody in your life that's like, you need to like be like really like bring that hammer down so that they don't fall in with the wrong crowd and all of this stuff. Which, by the way, we do talk about this on the episode that aired, I believe a
Last week.
week ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
with Ned and Bill. But you, the more you try to control and say like it's my way or the highway, we got to tell you this the better your kids get at figuring out a way to get around you or figure out that they feel resentful towards you.
Or yeah, because like a lot of times with control, if it's really not a necessary thing, and I mean we're going into gray area right here. So like things like bedtime, things like food choices. Food choices is a hot button one because I believe you cannot control what your kids put in their bodies. Like you cannot completely control that. It is their choice to eat. And if they get that choice to eat taken away from them, they are going to either develop really unhealthy eating habits or they're going to not be able to listen to their body on what to eat. Now, of course, there are other things you could do. I mean, don't buy the junk food or anything when they're
Yeah.
younger kids, but it's
And you
not
can
something where
expose them, right?
you
Like,
can expose them.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're just saying like the age old, you're going to sit there until your plate is clean is not going to work out as well as you think it will
It
for the
really won't
majority of
work
people.
out. And I
Yeah.
know there's a lot of fear that comes, especially with the eating issues. I mean, like I've seen it play out where you're afraid that your kid is going to be hungry later and they're going to want to eat at an inopportune time and be hungry when you don't have food around. And you'll have to deal with the consequences of them being grumpy and everything like that. And to that, I say, yes, this is where let them theory comes in because you can let them have that hungry reaction. You do
Mm-hmm.
not have to solve the hungry reaction. They might be bawling on the floor, they might be totally disagreeable, and all you have to be concerned about is the let me reaction. How are you going to respond when that happens? When your kid is crying, when your kid is hungry later, what's your response going to be? And a lot of times, like, I mean, I've dealt with that too. And my response is like, oh, I get that when I don't feel like eating sometimes and then I'm hungry later. I've learned like I just have to eat.
Yeah.
Sorry, bud. Know how that feels.
Yeah, I mean, because like we have an epidemic of young adults being put out into the world that haven't had experiences, haven't had the decision making, and have some difficulty with trying to figure out how to work through solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they're with us, we're so used to making those decisions for them and trying to keep them within the confines of what we feel like is okay that once they get out there, they're like, oh crap, where's the pasta water at the grocery store? I had no idea that that's water from the sink after you cook the pasta. Or like Brie, they end up going off to college and they're like, I don't know how to turn on a washing machine.
You do get all those things. So, up next, we're going to talk about those decisions that seem a little more high stakes and how you can kind of wean yourself into that. So, sometimes this let them theory might seem really, really scary when it comes to kids. We get into these whole like, oh my gosh, well, if I let them do this, then this will happen. And then this will happen. It becomes this big snowball, 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 coming bigger and bigger and bigger.
Oh, you mean like
When,
someone who jumps to step 20 when there's a
yeah,
problem? That's Brie, by the way. That's our code thing for Brie is overthinking things. Step 20.
well, it's an easy habit to get into, especially with our kids, in terms of huge decisions like where they're going to go to college or what they're going to do after graduation or what grades they have to get now. Like those could really seem like they impact kids in a huge, huge way, which is why finding ways to let them do stuff and make mistakes on their own is so important. My daughter just recently, she drove down to Tucson with a friend to attend this event.
I love this. I love this story.
And this event, so it was the Bernie Sanders AOC rally. And this event, I know from our previous experience, from hearing you attend these events, like they are packed. You usually have to get there like 6 or 8 hours ahead of time, like some crazy amount of time
And
to
just because you
even
have a
get
ticket
in.
doesn't mean, right?
Yeah, just because you have a ticket doesn't mean you get in. So I was talking with her about this the day before, and she's like, Mom, we have a plan. We're going to, like, my friend's going to pick me up at this time, and then we're going to go down there and we'll be there just in time for it. And I'm like, okay. Because it was one of those where it popped in my head. I'm like, I need to let her. I know how this is going to play out, but I need to let her. Because also, there is the off chance that it does not play out the way I think it will, which
Yeah,
I have been proven wrong
right.
on occasion. Yes.
And
So
that's hard with a teen. They don't let
yeah,
that go.
it's really hard. They don't let that go. That I think that even makes let them easier because teens don't let them go and will remind you of your mistakes all the time. And so you're like, fine, you want to do this? Let's do this. So she went down to Tucson and she's texting me from down there and she's like, so we're not going to get into this. The line was held at a like it was held at a high school and the line wrapped around the neighborhoods, like around the neighborhoods, like probably a good mile the line was to get in. And what was even more like devastating to her is they were actually the line was cut off 10 people before them.
Which that is like salt in the wound.
That is salt in the
Oh
wound.
my God.
So it was a good experience though, because I mean, now if she wants to attend those events in the future, I don't need to remind her anything.
Yeah.
I don't need to
Yeah.
tell her anything. She will be like, oh, in this experience, this happened. And so I'm going to do it differently this time.
Yep.
So when you come to those decisions, you really have to ask yourself some questions. Like me in this experience, like, what am I actually afraid of? Am I afraid of her being disappointed for not getting in?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, right? Because literally that is what your big concern was. And when you
Yeah.
say it out loud, that's what sometimes helps you go, oh, wait, this isn't a big deal.
Or like, she's going to waste so much time driving down to Tucson. And I'm like, yeah, but some of those experiences of mine when I've quote unquote wasted time have been like some of my best memories with my friends. So
that's what I was going to say. I have yet to find a teenager that goes on a road trip without their parents that doesn't have a good time. But go on.
the next question is this about my safety or comfort? Because a lot of it was because I had this thing about her getting on that I-10 with another teenage driver and like getting in an accident. When especially with the driving thing, I go back to Brene Brown and her work all the time. And it's not but that something actually bad will happen. That is not like the fear. The fear is that I am vulnerable. I love this child so much. And in this situation, I am vulnerable. And sometimes that really, really helps me when it is about my safety or comfort, just letting me know where those feelings are coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's huge.
And then another thing is, what lesson do I want them to learn in this? Like, obviously, sometimes we try to jump in and control because we know the lessons already. We have learned them well,
Yeah.
but our kids haven't yet. So sometimes we need to let them learn it by themselves. And my dad used to call that learning by the school of hard knocks. I think that's a great teacher, the school of hard knocks. It's one of the
No,
best.
I 100% agree because I think it comes back to what I had mentioned earlier. If we don't let them have these lessons, why they're here with us and we can help pick up the pieces, we can help them work through their feelings, then they're going to be out there learning these lessons on their own or too afraid to learn them because they realize that they don't have a safety net when they're out on their own. So
Exactly.
it's the best time to learn them is when we're still around and we can help.
Yeah. And then the final question is something that we talk a lot about here is what relationship do I want to build with my kids? Do I want to be always the one dictating what they do? Or do I want to be kind of that guide on the side, that advisor that they come to when they're in really hard situations? And I would say I always want to be the guide on the side because having to dictate what to do all the time, that's exhausting.
It is. I was going to say that. I'm like, okay, listen, the last thing you want is your kid calling you all the time for advice on every little decision that they're making. It can become exhausting. So it's just as bad as we talked about this on a previous episode from last week. It's just as bad as having that third child in your house. Your husband
who we
being
refer
a
to as your
child.
partner.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're parenting a third child, that's other decisions that's another let them episode.
Yes,
Go consult Mel Robbins' book for that one. Yeah. With the adults. But with kids, when you actually let them do the things, there are so many great things that can happen with your relationship and with them. Another thing you're doing for kids when you're letting them is you're giving them agency and control over their own choices. And our interview with Ned Johnson and Dr. Bill Stixrud in episode 356 of the No Guilt Mom podcast, which you should totally go listen to,
Yes.
is kids need agency and control over their own choices to actually be engaged in the world. If they feel like nothing they do matters, you're not going to have a child who actually becomes an active citizen. They'll be
Right.
standing back waiting for things to happen to them. So
Yeah.
there's so much good.
Waiting for the surefire yes, the surefire do it. Life is very limited in that capacity for most of
I
us.
wish people told me more what to do in life to succeed. I really do. Like I really do.
That's
I
my
think that all the
point.
time
There's
in
no
entrepreneurship. Yeah.
almost nothing is a given in life except for what is it? What do they say back, or they used to say
Death
death
and
and taxes, right? Yeah, almost nothing's a given. So you're going to have to try things that are a little wobbly. You're going to have to
yes.
put yourself out there.
Yes.
Yep.
So we hope you take this let them theory and see how you can apply it to your own parenting. And we have a little thing that we can help you out with it. We have a 5-day challenge for you, which you can get from us if you go to our Instagram, No Guilt Mom, and DM the word challenge. We will send you the steps of 5 things, one for each day, that you can let go of in regards to your parenting. And then you're going to like look to see how it affected your stress level. So this is like a really like concrete in data activity that you could do that is going to have huge impact on your
Immediate
stress.
impact. I like that.
Yes, immediate impact on your stress levels and also your relationship with your kids, because your kids are going to surprise you. Mine surprise me all the time with the things that they do when I just let them. One, though, like little thing, little caveat
Yeah.
is that there's some communication issues that will happen, and that's okay. That is par for the course. What is happening in my house is my kids don't tell me when they leave the house. And my son's 11, so he needs to tell me when he leaves the house.
We've been having an issue with that too, only with my son.
Mhm.
And I did tell him one day, I'm like, okay, I'm making this crystal clear to you. You have to check in with me before you leave. Like and I'm not asking for you to like, tell me your exact plans, because I appreciate the fact that you're going out with your friends for pizza and you guys are going to hang and you're not sure where you're going to end up next. That's cool. And he shares his location on his iPhone, and I have the Life 360, so he knows that I know that he's not going anywhere. But yes, it's crazy how we feel like it. And it's interesting because when you say it to your kids, I don't know if yours do the same thing, but mine are like, it's not necessarily that I'm trying to hide from you. I just know that you can find me on Life 360s or whatever. So why do I need to
Yeah.
tell you?
That's what they think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, you just want the personal interaction. You just
Yeah.
want to
I'm going to
see
let you know
them.
my expectation. My expectation is I don't want to have to pull out my phone to figure out where you are.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
don't. I don't think
Absolutely.
that's not healthy. It's not healthy.
So we can't wait to hear how you do on this Let Them 5-day challenge with your kids. And until next time, remember, the best mom's a happy mom. Take care of you. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for stopping by.